This video was made possible by Cyberpower PC UK. Welcome to our timeline of the entire history of Elden Ring. This has been an absolutely massive project and covers every faction, character, and event throughout all the ages of the lands between. However, there is a ton of mystery surrounding almost every topic, not to mention the complexity of linking everything together, rather than letting theories stand separate. There is lots of speculation and theorizing throughout, and to that end, all sources have been provided on screen alongside our reasoning to help you make your own conclusions. But to keep the video from pausing constantly, we won't be prefacing every point by saying it is only our opinion. The whole video is just our opinion for one full potential timeline. Finally, everything here was produced before the upcoming Shadow of the Erdtree expansion, and our thoughts will no doubt change after delving into the Land of Shadow. Once, all was without beginning or end.
in the embrace of Messmer's flame.
If he achieved his goal here at Castle Soul and basically
person come to my house and try to kill me. I met these girls at USC the second semester I was there. They were really cool. And they asked me if I wanted
certainly heard of Dante's Inferno. It's terrifying struggles of hell. Persistence and patience. Paradise, striking purification, redemption, satisfying their souls with plans of all sins and reaching paradise. It's not applicable to just sleep after it's cleanness and it's a certain terraces of their souls and their joys and agents and holy nature instead of sins. Paradise represents the state of creation and the preparations for a second terrace. Carrying souls to purgatory is a sins at its heart and spread his arrival is followed by the singing of the passengers of Chan's soul. After his grave, the angel releases the soul from inside of the box. Baptism and start their purgation journey. He then leaves as quickly as he arrived, returning to the multiple souls. Purgatory is where souls are made to start repentance and purification successfully. This great purification is the idea that soul saves and is released from the influence. Yes, it's the time that makes it to counteract conditions that this is where souls are. These keys symbolize God's mercy and justice. Ascending the mountain is difficult, as the souls are burdened with sins. But as they climb, instead of becoming more tired, they're and purged along the way. The first terrace is meaningful for being the place where souls face and purge pride, which is considered by many to be the most crucial of the deadly sins, as it is the root of all evils. The soul's experience on this terrace is physical and spiritual, symbolic of the awareness of depression. This is a direct reflection of the sin. Pride raised them above others. Now they are clearly a physical representation of the humility in this world. Alongside physical weakness, the terrace also had a series of these exemplify for some of the devastating consequences of pride and the value of humility. The journey through this terrace is a learning and transformative process. Souls learn how to recognize and reject pride in themselves, an essential step toward their purification and readiness to ascend to the next terrace. This entire process epitomizes the notion that true understanding and purification begin with humility and the ability to recognize one's own mistakes and imperfections. Purged on the second terrace. Standing in stark contrast to the terrace of pride, which featured artistic arguments. The next theme, a stand in its
One of the most underappreciated characters in the entire series. And I think it's all because her story peaked quite early and then sort of petered out. However, to suggest that there isn't more for this character to offer the story is just flat foolish. She is, in more ways than one, our key to the secrets of this world, and today I want to examine in detail two of the characters that elevate the story beyond what any other character this world is staggering. We first need to understand her and help 8-year-old into this story in a fashion that I was incredibly impressed by during the creation of this movie. This is by and large one of the most mysterious, dangerous, introduced as Miss All Sunday during Whiskey Peak. Oh, geez, okay. I think a lot of folks, myself included, when we think of Robin, our minds are automatically catapulted back to the events of Water 7 and Enemy's Lobby. But the point of this series, for me anyway, is that we appreciate or even really remember. Looking for me, it's most evidence of Robin's characterization occur long before the events of Water 7, starting in this series. Our first significant interaction with the woman known as something the days I really think back, sees her seemingly erased ignorance to make the baby and funny guy. All the branches that way. Which only speaks to the level of misdirection and mystery surrounding this character here. However, the moment we first see this for ourselves, we too are suspicious of her offering and are firm in Lucy's word. To him, and by extension us, she's a cold-blooded murderer and can't be trusted. Now, what makes this intro of her character compelling to me is that In one scene, Oda managed to communicate Robin's entire story and character flaw in microcosm, and we didn't even know it. Having performed 2 actions here, one seemingly similar, that entirely off balance with Robin presenting no desire to post. The crew naturally have every right to question this offering, and she knows that. But as soon as Mr. Honestly's suggestion that it's a trap, she just shuts down and reverts her government, neither confirming nor denying his suspicions because this is practically now, of course, it's a great one. You see the light of the story, and the more is we can then information. Equals 2 in contact, mostly avoiding the danger of Little Garden.
Hey, Michael.
The story of Robin during the extremely grand line arc is communicated through Oda's careful and intentionally slow pulling back the curtain of her past. At first, we see her interact with the heroes of this story, largely vague and uncooperative, leading us to suspect her of something nefarious. But to ensure we remain unfamiliar with her and off balance, Oda presents us with this scene. Following Sanji's phone call with Brock, out of frustration, the big Sandman himself expresses that, and I quote, all minions are replaceable, and then wonders if evil Robin responds to that. Now, what really heightens the characters involved in this scene, Brock and Robin, is that this conversation has to bring back that soothing, slightest fraction for what they want. She's looking was talking back before actually you know. So this kind of disrespect leads us to the question, why is Robin this is every year name and yet there are ways to see through Robin's facade in this early material using these artistic clues. Smiling is a significant part of One Piece. This should come as no surprise given that the characters are designed to embellish that specific characteristic. However, around certain honest and bright smiles, Oda likes to draw a specific effect around the highlighted character. This effect, to be exact, can be seen all over the story during points where a beaming, bright, honest smile. And the reason this is interesting is twofold, so let's explore. Her unsuccessful battle with Crocodile, Robin yet, however, she does so seemingly so with his kid. She asks about the name D. This might not seem like much, but it is perhaps the first bit of genuine curiosity extended from her to him. She's every interaction this soon changes. Amid these truths, the second fight with Crocodile, Water Luffy makes his debut in the story. I pointed out a number of times thus far that Robin has smiled or chuckled in the face of a number of troubling and bizarre scenarios, but never is she shown to have that same sun effect behind her when she does. Not once. Suggesting, at least to me, that whenever she has expressed joy in the past, it's all been an act. a facade to help her navigate her circumstances in the name of reaching her goals. This time, however, when looking at Water Luffy, she laughs. And what effect can be seen around her head? The very same seen around numerous others throughout this series. An effect that for the first time in the series confirms a genuine, bright, and happy moment in Robin's otherwise dark and secretive life. Interestingly, the very first time we've ever seen this effect used in One Piece was here, when Luffy first ingests the devil fruit that we now know is a zone-type fruit that grants the user the power of the sun god Nika. And so, the moment Luffy consumes this fruit, it sets him on the path of becoming Joy Boy, bringing joy as Water Luffy, he forms incredibly cartoonish, right, and brings genuine joy to Robin's complicated character, with the effect of Robin's face echoing like many before her in almost radiant, sun-looking effect. Now, that's fascinating enough on its own, but what I find interesting about this effect is and so, if we look closely at this fact, a group character explicitly confirmed to us in the story. I just love finding stuff like this. It makes the story feel that much more well conceived. But following Luffy blowing away Crocodile with a bazooka, Robin makes her exit, sharing with Luffy mere pages following her, letting a sincere chuckle slip out from behind her mask, a brief exchange of eye contact. And through that fleeting glance, the message is clear. Luffy, you're pissing off Croc, and the luck you've relied on is about to run out. With that, her defense is right back up, and she's ready to play both sides against each other once again to meet her goal. Naturally, this perplexes Luffy greatly. She saved him, yes, but in his mind, that isn't congruent with the murder he thinks she's committed early in the story. The look he shoots right back at Robin is that of confusion, yes, but one that is slowly starting to understand Robin and see through her. The chapter this exchange takes place within is called Ego Robin. And fittingly, it is also the chapter Luffy feels like he's starting to see the real her. Now that she is so close to her goal, this interaction should tell us something about her. Simply because great character revelation occurs under times of great pressure. And in this scene, the person she wants to convince us that she isn't the person she truly is. Screaming and wasting her energy on people she could kill in an instant. It's carefully. And this is the backstory of Robin. The very first thing you should recognize and appreciate about this reveal is they're tainted by the reported events. What is described here? Wings are this is propaganda. And ties to underworld representation. She is described as exceptionally dangerous. It's brilliantly believable. And what's more is, following this standoff, Tashigi is compromised by Robin, who looks as though she's about to kill her then and there, corroborating and matching perfectly the story the government delivered to us about her. But mere pages later, all of that suspense and suspicion is undercut when Luffy discovers Tashigi alive. Now, although they gave the more with this information and how manipulated even said, like, losers shouldn't boast about the courts of justice. The sea favors the strong. This suggests that the strong, these case before government, may get a bit further. This is specifically quantified as a public. It is the skin of color, dark, shaped light of the world. What the created to life in this world? Years, only she is repeatedly so is clear. It's more than a popular here. It is too. Beyond the way, introduces the history of this area. She realizes here and now that she has spent her entire life trying to reach this point, only to find that this poneglyph was the wrong one. She's reached the end of her path, and by doing so, has relinquished the last of the leverage she has over her problem. The closing moments of Robin involved in thankfully have a happier ending. Having fallen into possibilities, Robin for a second time saves Luffy by giving him a now realizing what she believes to be certain death, she speaks for the very first time since her debut, candidly to come, explaining that what she was looking for all this time she's giving up. What's bittersweet about this you can tell me. Honestly, Steve will change. And from that heartbreaking point of view, she utters words that have defined her character and expresses that she doesn't want to live. And in quite possibly the most Luffy way imaginable, he responds with simply this, quote, "Why should I listen to you? Cinema. Honestly, it is hilarious cinema." The story of Robin is one of a person learning to open up to her. And in no more fitting a finish to this story, Robin's integration into the crew might be my personal favorite of the series. I know it comes at the same time we realize that Vivi isn't coming along, which, is a shame, but I can't help but feel as though it made a lot of sense in the end. The Straw Hat Pirates are characters that possess dreams that can really serve through their exploration with Luffy on the Going Merry and the Now Sunny. Vivi certainly has a dream goal, but to achieve that dream, she is best served where she is. Whereas on some level, Robin lost her purpose with Crocodile. She used him as a means of finding info on the poneglyphs, and now that lead is dead in the water. With her integration into Luffy's crew, she doesn't yet feel as though she has close ties to the Straw Hats, that they are just another means that help facilitate the exploration of the mystery that has defined her life. All this could be and likely is true at this point, and when she initially asks to join the crew, she says, quote, "I have nowhere to go and nowhere to return to, so let me join your crew." In other words, without this, she has nothing to live for, and is joining the crew to continue her search. Luffy thankfully vouches for her, saying, "Don't worry, she's not a bad person." The rest of the chapter is spent with her trying to win everyone over to her side, succeeding winning over everyone except for one, Zoro. He remains suspicious, and to that suspicion, she meets it with this: a big, beaming, sincere smile. Like Sanji with his growing conviction to strive for better things, Robin, by being close with Luffy and the crew, is showing more and more sincerity. More than she truly is to them, and in the process, despite having a long way to go still, is finding real joy. Anything man can imagine is a possibility in reality. This quote is shared immediately following something thought to be impossible taking place. A ship has fallen from the sky suddenly. Regardless of what the censors of this arc might say, there's something truly special about Jaya and Skypia's setting and stories. Acting as the immediate follow-on from the Alabasta arc, which focused on the grim realities of misinformation and propaganda, Skypia's tone and makeup is practically the antithesis of Alabasta. The crux of the arc itself is that of wonder-filled adventure, as those who eventually happened upon this mysterious land bask in the beauty and magic it has to offer. Away from natural civilization, Skypia very much feels like a place where dreams could very well be real, an important element when you consider Robin's feelings on the matter. Having struggled her entire life to reach what she ultimately discovered was a red herring in Alabasta, Skypia is the perfect mechanism to reignite her fire. Fitting also that a large component of this arc contends with unraveling its mystery. I mean, a ship literally fell from the sky, Someone needs to help make sense of it. And fittingly, Robin does just that, proving off the bat how valuable she can be to the crew. Having come about a strange light bulb, she becomes necessary to disclose how that light bulb works and the final deduction that there must be, in fact, an island in the sky. Furthermore, when she arrives in Jaya and goes off on her own, perhaps out of habit, she once again reveals that she isn't just a necessary component to further our understanding of this world, but additionally proves that she is the advancement of this plot too once she reveals she has found a map of the area, which is the first crucial piece of the puzzle that they don't even know what they're trying to solve yet. Despite having agreed to follow along with the crew, I think this scene shines a light on how Robin still feels concerning their companionship. With the crew celebrating and engaging in general merriment together, Robin is pictured off to the side, though still prominently in the plan, alone in the diary in the hope that she can learn something that she can use. It demonstrates that while she has joined the crew, she is likely only doing so to serve her own ends. Similar to her approach with Croc, choosing to keep everyone at arm's length away from her. But eventually the crew do arrive on Skypia, and after fracturing into groups, Robin's posse, which initially included Zoro, Chopper, and Luffy, is eventually whittled down to just her. And once they are presented with the means of reaching where they ultimately need to go, Robin is the only one equipped with the requisite skill set to arrive at the desired location, while all the others just stumble off in the wrong direction. But I think my favorite aspect of the follow-on from this sequence has to be the writing she uncovers that the void section. And true to the character and context of that which she's trying to uncover, our time spent with Robin is largely void of dialogue, highlighting the quiet contemplation and journey. Her silence is ultimately broken when she arrives in Chandora and discovers that the writing here is the very same as the writing on the planet Earth. A curious discovery that speaks to the importance of Skypia in general and the value Robin offers the team. She may have sat alone during the festivities, but had she not consumed that book that she was reading, she wouldn't have been able to make all the important connections that were necessary to make from those books to this location. And on the topic of exposition and dialogue, I know Oda had a lot of fun writing for Robin's dialogue. He puts so much careful consideration into the words all the characters say, whether it be how they communicate like Usopp in his thought bubbles, or Luffy through always saying what's on his mind, for better or worse, or even through his physical actions. But when it comes to Robin, especially around this period, I noticed that she never really refers to anyone by their actual name. She calls Chopper Doctor, she calls Zoro Swordsman, and so on, so on. She only really says Luffy's name, but even with that, that's in relation to her interest in the information his name potentially holds, the D that connects potentially to Gold D. Roger. This dialogue quirk she has, like all the others, clearly offers Oda another chance to communicate her character. Why call anyone by their name when you communicate how emotionally distant you are by calling them by their profession? I love it. I always like this moment because it forces Robin to push outside of her comfort zone and use what she's good at, logical reason, and in order to try to save her friend's notice. And more than that, it demonstrates that even the man most suspicious of her, Zoro, was still willing to save her life and risk his own when she was in trouble. I've said it before that in creative writing, positioning characters in situations of high stress can often offer wonderful opportunities for strong characterization. If a character is brave, proving that by placing them in a truly terrifying situation and sticking to their convictions always is the best way to demonstrate that. The reason this works is because it maps onto the real world, meaning what I've just described isn't just true for books, but it is true for reality. If you want to be a good person, that means making the right choices when it's hard to do so, when it's unadvantageous to do so. Zoro was suspicious of her prior, but he is also a man of conviction and honor. If the captain says she is part of the crew, then he will march through hell and back to protect his clan. It's a wonderful scene brimming with character. And what's funny about Zoro trusting Robin is that eventually we come to realize that these two have more in common than we think. Both are just as interested in getting stuck into the thick of things, albeit for different reasons, but everything. Throughout Skypia, there's a wonderful freedom that Robin has been afforded in this arc that she hadn't experienced before. And what's more is, in more ways than she might have even realized. Skyphia offered her a chance to live out her dream, one that she has had since she was a small child, through her uncovering the secret of Skyphia. She may have inadvertently experienced the loss, but that she might at this point be rejecting internally. A feeling that for the very first time in her life, she starts being demonized or threatened by those she is working with for simply being who she is. Could she be starting to feel at home in Straw Hats?
ああ、これはいい女になったな、ニコ・ロビン。
The typically level-headed and collected Nico Robin falls to the ground in utter disbelief. And once she does, comes with it the second time we're given a peek behind the curtain of her past. However, it's this peek behind the curtain that offers us a flavor of what the world government is truly expecting. As PG says, and I quote, "The amount of the bounty doesn't just reflect the strength of the criminal. There's also the danger level someone poses to the government. Not the people or the world, the government." PG also reveals that how she initially escaped in the first place was thanks to him. You know, just in case we were starting to paint one side of this entire movie with a black and white color, he injects an inconvenient amount of frame. Now, I know a lot of folks don't hold manga with land in high regard. I personally think it's because of the anime, but the manga time spent there was plenty fun during my read through. But more than that, on the topic of our first glimpse at a legitimate nerve of PG exposes in her. Speaking about her past, the point she's made deeply uncomfortable, she lacks the confidence of PG, and now, utterly defenseless, who jumps in to protect her? Naturally, Luffy also steps in to fight for her, fitting as if there were ever a character to not care at all about the past, it would be him. We all understand how this interaction concludes, and with it, it ushers in the perfect lead into arguably the most pivotal piece of Robin's story, Number 7 and his lobby. Up until this run-in with Aokiji, we've seen in Skyphia and even longer in Long Land, Robin has started to feel an unfamiliar comfort. But now she's certain as to what needs to be done. And as they leave for Quarter 7, with the entire crew sleeping as a golden day of activity has concluded, Robin is going to walk there and make her way into space. This is the moment she decides the action and the group of fires is coming. She can't force her to do this sort of dangerous. It isn't worth it. So, you can't fight against the real world, and the moment you start to care about something else, similar to how I described the situation in Cold Cake Island, the only way the crew can survive in Robin's eyes is for her to lead, to bear the burden, to go it alone, and give them, her new family, a fighting chance that she is willing to sacrifice everything. And interestingly, through making that decision, unbeknownst to her, has indirectly admitted to her caring deeply about them. Through making this decision, she becomes a true Straw Hat pirate, one that will do anything for her friends. And what does a crew do for a member of their family in need? They drop it there. Listen, plan, and cry. Towards the beginning of the video, I mentioned that certainly in his lobby is associated with Jordan. For iconic decorations, it's perfectly as a highlight of the spirit, and for a series as well as peace, it's closely close. However, it's hard to discredit her involvement or impact in this arc and the next. For me, the real meat to Robin's story came during the events of Whiskey Peak, Alabasta, and Skyphia, respectively. The fact Water 7 and Ace Lobby was so successful and still associated with Robin, I feel, is a testament to the tremendous writing and foundations Oda established in these aforementioned arcs. Slowly peeling back the layers of complexity, lies, and mystery until what's left is nothing. Just a scared, selfless individual desperately trying to do what she can to reveal the truth. And fittingly, despite all the lies being told about her time and time again, she doesn't try to fight that propaganda first and foremost. Instead, she wants to reveal a truth about the world. This quality of her character speaks to the action she takes in this arc. Actions that prioritize the well-being of those she cares about over her own safety. Despite not being the meat of her story, truly, what Water 7 and his lobby represent for Robin is the payoff. Certainly not the final payoff, but a payoff for the journey she's been on since meeting the crew all those chapters ago when we knew her as Miss All Sunday. In other words, these are the arcs that lift Robin's character out of the mist and smokescreens that all fight her into. Having received nothing but brief, fleeting glimpses into Robin's past for what feel like hundreds of chapters at this point, finally we are told outright by the woman herself about the conspiracy this world government is concealing. And more than that, see who Robin truly is, and more importantly, why she is this way. Left to grow up on the island of O'Hara with her abusive and abandonment, Robin learned that staying quiet keeps negativity from finding you, that she can only rely really on herself, and that new families aren't worth the trouble to find them. If one thing as a parent in this flashback, it's the incredibly rare skill set and impact Robin's had and will continue to have on this series. Learning about the history of the Tree of Knowledge as well as the fate that eventually befalls it, we come to realize the level of aptitude Robin has for scholarly endeavors as well as archaeology, achieving the level of the former by the age of 8. Each learned individual is studying in secret the true history of this world. And fascinating as that may be, with plenty of healthy ramifications for the future of the story, this is a character analysis, and backstory isn't short of character-revealing moments that corroborate how Oda has written Robin prior to this reveal. Coming to possess a devil fruit at a very young age, this ability she gained only served to further ostracize her from everyone her age and then some, with some referring to her even as a monster. Furthermore, and perhaps the most touching, was her relationship with a giant projectile Saul, who wanted her on the shores of her island. He was unlike anyone she had ever come across for literal and tragic reasons. She had never seen a giant before, but also had never felt so accepted and empathized with either. If there was anyone that could understand how she was feeling, it was him. And thanks to that experience, managed to teach her a coping mechanism he found useful when things got too intense or dangerous. He teaches her to chuckle and smile in the face of danger. And we need not look too hard to know that Robin has been using this technique since we first met her. Chuckling to Brock in Alabasta and indeed numerous other instances, a trait we found disappointing was in fact nothing more than a smokescreen she herself deployed. The Marines eventually arrived on the island to put an end to the secret work being carried out by the inhabitants, and this is where we meet returning in time for this confrontation and event is Robin's mother, who eventually reunites with Robin briefly before pushing her into Saul's care. A former Vice Admiral of the Navy, she never sees her daughter again. Exactly like to stand by her like she deserves. And looking back at this scene, despite it taking place before Robin's famous line, you can clearly tell that these words were ringing through her head when she did eventually scream to the Straw Hats that she wanted to live. Having run from everyone her entire life, she has finally found her family, and one that she wishes she could be taken out to see. It's a wonderful full circle moment if you think when you look down at the side of ambush and monitoring along land, it was spoken if he was showing up there and then, it must be serious, dangerous, for friends. And what I love about this flashback, and indeed Water 7 and Ennie's Lobby, is that everything in Robin's life can be attributed to her past and the scars she bears as a result of that harsh road she's traveled. At this point in this series of character breakdowns, it's becoming a belabored point, but the level of attention to detail Oda has paid each and every character he's written for doesn't require me to it's all there, plain and handy for everyone to see, ready for anyone to take an interest to find and cover. The richness of this story is unrivaled, shown with Robin's character as a poster child for writing across hundreds of chapters. If there's one thing that this arc has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's that uncovering the truth of the world that movies will take place anyway. The crew pushing through all the propaganda to uncover the truth behind Nico Robin's forced them to death on a number of occasions, pushing them to the edge of what they were currently capable of. And this was all to gain the truth behind one long individual. If nothing else, this sequence from One Piece starts to feel like the next level of the debate is dedicated. Theories that literally and emotionally fractured the team such that they were forced to come back better and stronger than ever before. Where Nami returned with a sense of security in her family's resilience or Usopp's newfound competence, Robin's return boasts an even more subtle change. Having already been mentally tough and physically capable, Robin's return demonstrated something else. In the first half of the series, she is presented as this mysterious woman shrouded in darkness and propaganda, but after Sabaody, upon her return, she always proving that she is in fact right where she belongs. In Water 7 Enemy's lobby, the drastic choices and the actions she took were essentially to protect the crew from the negative impact she was having on them. However, in Dressrosa, we get a chance to see indirect demonstrations of the positive impact she had on certain individuals. We see moments where the character Sugar turns introduced so everyone forgets about her. And what makes this technique interesting is the baggage that is explored through someone entirely vanishing from your life. What would that be like? In the case of Usopp, he forgets about Soda. He is expected to do the right thing. Without her, he is fundamentally different speed and more likely than not. And in contrast to the desire she felt towards herself, she is where she comes to the age of feeling like a valued member in its Instead, altruistically accepted himself as she is, accepting the life and the fact that it's expression. 絶対にないんだで。私を悪魔になってなるの。ただいま。The story of Robin has been one of discovering truth through pushing past trauma. And just like with all of Oda's characters, there are elements of poetry to her narrative makeup that, through their design, reveal more about her character's complexity and at the same time enrich the world around her. Nico Robin is a character that has a passionate and natural aptitude for uncovering the history of the world. She sees a sincere value in revealing the truth about it because, as she puts it, those who fail to remember the past are doomed to repeat it. However, the poetry of Oda's writing for her is that, despite having that modus operandi or proclivity for revealing the truth, she herself is a closed book, unable to either contend with or convince herself to trust the kindness of others for reasons that are rooted in the past, whether it be through abuse or tragedy. And once those scars are ultimately uncovered by those like Luffy and his crew, he eventually reveals all there is to know about her, and through doing so, runs the whole story wide open for us at home in ways that are still associated with us today. The world government is one of the most compelling villains and antagonists in the story. And through revealing the impact of anyone behind their attack on her life, the world of One Piece has become that much more exciting and compelling. She reveals the truth about herself, and through doing so, shines light against the entire world. She's a beautifully designed character towards what is being described as the last few years of publication, taking a further to reflect upon so much to let this story be seen as that little forgotten girl on that island.
Jujutsu Kaisen's Culling Game arc is the longest story arc within the series. It spans over 63 chapters, taking place from chapters 159 all the way up until chapter 200. This story arc centers around a sinister game created by none other than Kenjaku. During the ninth story arc of Jujutsu Kaisen, Yuji and Megumi work together in order to rescue Megumi's sister Tsuneki, who is at the mercy of the rules of the Culling Game. They also have a few other objectives, like freeing Satoru Gojo from the prison realm, as well as protecting Master Tengen from Kenjaku. The Culling Game is spread across multiple colonies, including Tokyo No. 1 Colony, Sendai Colony, Tokyo No. 2 Colony, as well as Sakurajima Colony. The participants within the Culling Game not only encounter cursed spirits, but they also meet participants who are incarnated sorcerers from the past who have taken over the body of the so much happens during this story arc, but honestly, it's this video to break down the simplified that happens with the Culling Game arc. I hopefully by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what happens from the very beginning to the end, and how the Culling Game arc perfectly sets up for the next storyline mission showdown. Be sure to stick around until the very end of this video because there are a lot of fights to cover. There is a lot of plot progression, of betrayal, unforeseen alliances forming. So without further delay, this is all the the ultimate aim is to transform the singularity. Really appreciate the Culling Game. We need to look at the 8 rules that have been set out by Kenjaku at the very onset of the story arc. Rule number 1 states, after awakening a Crest technique, players must declare their participation in the Culling Game at a colony of their choice within 19 days. Rule number 2 states that any player who breaks the previous rule shall be instantly. Rule number 3 says that non-players who enter the players and they shall be considered. Rule number 4 dictates that players score points by ending the lives of players and also Rule number 6 states that players may expend 100 points in order to negotiate with the Game Master to add one new rule to the Culling Game. However, players cannot add their own life's value to the amount that can be spent. Meaning, if you're a Jujutsu sorcerer with 95 points, you can't add on the 5 points like nobody in order to make it 100 points like a 7 rules that in it. Unless it goes Rule number 8 states that if a player squad makes the same with that a brutal until it is revealed right at the very end of the Cullen Game arc. From the perfect preparation arc, we know that the Cullen Game that Kenjaku has prepared involves Megumi's sister Tsuniki Fushiguro. The perfect preparation arc had seen Yuji's death be faked once again, as Yuji along with the other sorcerers work together in order to recruit Kenji Hikari onto their side. With it now as an ally, it's up to Yuji Megumi along with the allying sorcerers like Panda, Kenji Hikari, and even Uta Okatsu as they all infiltrate the Cullen Game and attempt to manipulate the rules of the Cullen Game to their advantage. While one of the main motives for the sorcerers is to protect Master Tengen from Kenjaku, Megumi and Yuji also have a personal motive, which is to rescue Megumi's sister Tsuniki. Kenji, Panda, Megumi, and Yuji plan to negotiate with other powerful players within the Cullen Game in order to add rules that could potentially allow them to rescue Tsuniki, as well as others who have been forced to participate in the Cullen Game. The plan is to take advantage of the system of the Cullen Game in order to put an end to Kenjaku's rule. Another aim of Yuji and the other sorcerers is to locate a player called Angel, who appears to hold the power to free Gojo from the prison block. During the onset of the Cullen Game arc, a new rule was added by an individual called Hajime Kashimo. This rule states that players can gain access to information on other players, such as their name, amount of points, number of rules added, along with their current colony location. Now, the main rules that Yuji and Megumi want to include are a rule that allows players to transfer points between one another. This would massively help Tsuniki, as she would not be subject to curse technique removal, as Shoko had earlier theorized that curse technique removal would affect the brain of players. So if this was done on them, then it would result in their death. Thankfully, non-sorcerers are not subject to dying from curse technique removal. Yuji and Megumi also want to devise a way for players to be able to leave the Cullen Game. But I'll talk about this later on in the video, as there are a total of 7 rules that are added to the Cullen Game during the duration of this story arc. Each new rule that is added significantly impacts the strategy of players who are participating in the Cullen Game, as it somewhat alters the structure of the game as well as the behavior of players. Rules are added for tactical advantages. Some players want to add rules in order to help them to escape from the Cullen Game, while others, like Kenjaku, add rules onto the game in order to make sure that it continues on, so that the true purpose of the Cullen Game can be actualized. So, the Cullen Game arc begins with chapter 159 titled Judgment. Through this chapter, Gege offers us an insight into the criminal justice system of Japan. Now, notoriously, Japan is known for a 99% conviction rate, hence why it has such a low rate of crime, meaning that if you're apprehended for a crime, it's highly likely that you're going to be convicted of it, irrespective of proof of innocence. Through this chapter, we're introduced to the lawyer Hiromi Yurama. He is in the middle of preparing the defense for the case of Keita Mori, who insists on his innocence despite having a lot of damning evidence against him. Keita was arrested for a double murder after a bloody knife with victim's DNA was found in his possession. Keita claims that he had found the knife and was wanting to hand it over to the police, but matters were complicated because of his living situation, because he stays at an unlicensed elderly care facility that he works at. So for this reason, they want to keep a low profile and avoid any contact with the authorities. Now, Higuruma reviews the case with his colleague Shimizu, as Higuruma believes Keita's story despite Shimizu being skeptical of it. Higuruma is dedicated to defending those who can't defend themselves. Gege emphasizes this point by showcasing us Higuruma's past cases that he has worked on, as well as a conversation with a lawyer who used to work with him. He remarks that Higuruma has a lot of different justice, despite the massive personal conflicts of it. When Keita's case goes to trial, the initial verdict is innocent, which shocks Shimizu when Higuruma is expected. It also claims that the prosecution's scrutiny of the decisions in media outlets quickly spin a story against Keita, suggesting that there has been a miscarriage of justice, with the innocent verdict being rife with corruption, while preparation you can see just how Keita is with the dedication of Higuruma, with his desire to defend the privilege. Now, unfortunately, the retrial takes a devastating turn as Keita is convicted without any new evidence being presented, as this highlights how there is a systemic bias against defendants, which, like I mentioned earlier, leads to that 99% The justice system. Sleeping. As he begins to chapter ends. As he conjures and judges him, stunted evidence. Feels that Iguruma is a contestant within the culling game, and the entire trial surrounding Keita-O is what had resulted in his dormant jujutsu powers awakening. The following chapter 160, titled Colony, shifts the focus to the broader implications. We begin with Sasaki and City of Sendai, as he explains the legal nature of the gate to Setsuko. She appears Kinjaku holds her hand and takes her to safety, thus indicating that Kinjaku is not totally devoid of empathy, despite him having organized such a game. Before they part ways, Kinjaku had mysteriously denounced Setsuko for befriending his son. This, of course, is in reference to Yuji, and it's the first hint that we see that Yuji is somehow linked to Kinjaku. So we learn that all of this is taking place. Yeah, then we see Yuji and Yuji. They begin to strategize and they're communication with the outside world as they try to figure out how best to coordinate their efforts inside and outside of the barriers. At the end of chapter 160, Yuji and Megumi declare their participation within Tokyo No. 1 colony now they're probably a series of 16. You should look strong. Which consists of really exciting. But upon entering, both Yuji and Megumi are separated due to the barrier's mechanism that transports new entrants to random locations within the barrier. Yuji finds himself in a location that is being monitored. Rin Amai, a novice jujutsu sorcerer who is forced to work for Hanyu, as they order him to signal to them whenever new targets appear. Upon arriving, the Rin signaling blocked them. Fellows of the this monster analyzes Hanyu launches a high velocity as it sends him flying. Being the protector of the stormy, effectively takes her out of the fight. Unfortunately, this win against Hanyu does very little to prepare him against the arrival of Hanyu's partner, Haba. Haba has a similar cursed energy manipulation technique called helicopter. When Haba This also yeah, dating the he makes very already cover into a closed environment. This really limiting covers area This leaves a little conflict between. Once again, Yuji's quick thinking allows him to land a decisive attack on Haba's head, disrupting his propeller attack and setting the stage for a final brutal counter as Yuji silences Haba by landing a amazing statement, taking out two opponents, demonstrating the growth in Yuji's as well as his unfortunately, heavily distracted. Involving Yuji and Ren, as all of this builds up towards Yuji's encounter with Hiromi Higuruma. So the flashback to Yuji's school days involves an incident that had taken place in Sendai City. Rin recalls a time where him and his friend were approached by the police. Now Rin did not stand up for himself, instead had behaved in a way that was swiftly taken action and intervened to save the patient. And this allowed him to still be highlighting to him that Yuji is somebody who stands in justice. This one This is a lowering-pictured individual called Reggie who suddenly ambushes Megumi. Megumi summons his divine dog Totality as his battle against Reggie is about to begin. At the same time, Rin hides Yuji to a theater in Ikebukuro as he states that this is the base of operations. He appears to be pretty chilled out despite his violent nature. Justice, which is free from the flaws of the Japanese legal system, which we had discussed in chapter 159. Yuji is pretty desperate to save his friends, as well as to negate the deadly rules of the common game, as he demands his will. Justice, as well as the building. As he is interested in partaking in the wicked justice system. It's this ideological deadlock which results in Higuruma summoning his judgment Shikigami, as he refuses to allow Yuji to use his 100 points to add a new rule to the game. Higuruma utilizes his powerful domain expansion called deadly sentencing. This transforms things into a modern setting. Higuruma's domain expansion prohibits any physical attacks as it subjects Yuji to a trial conducted by the Shikigami. Yuji's initial attempts at fighting back are stopped by the domain's rules, as he is then pretty much forced to engage in a legal battle. Higuruma's domain expansion provides him a tactical advantage by allowing him to battle against his opponent through confidence. So he will have the upper hand opposed to his within Higuruma's domain. Higuruma has had a strategy using ATM scholars for adjacent information in the premises. He is then set to his a large battle hammer as he beats down on Yuji, who is unable to defend himself with cursed energy. Higuruma deduces that Yuji didn't possess an innate curse technique, so in turn the effects of confiscation had affected Yuji's ability to use cursed energy altogether. The fact that Yuji is able to withstand attacks from to take out one-sided. He begins to think the best way with He admits that he was responsible for mass murder in Shibuya. He refuses to deny the charges. Yuji's straight up admission enrages judgment. The verdict is Yuji's guilty. Yuji received as well as death penalty. This is of which man has ever handed out. Following the death penalty verdict, Higuruma is given the Sword of Execution, which is a very powerful blade that can kill its target with a single strike. Now, thinking about this, what Yuji did here that if he had admitted to the crimes that were committed, it would influence Higuruma. By Yuji admitting this, he is proving that he is a morally just individual. As it positions him to be somebody who's willing to accept responsibility for his actions. This is in stark contrast to the other players. After he witnesses Yuji's resilience following the few clashes, Higuruma decides to get rid of his cursed technique. This is because Higuruma had evidence during the retrial which had proved that Sukuna was in fact responsible for the crimes which were committed in Shibuya, not Yuji. For this reason, he's confused about why Yuji had confessed on Sukuna's place. Yuji accepts responsibility for killing Higuruma as he begins to remember why he had become a lawyer for the case. After Higuruma gives Yuji an opening to attack, he delivers an uppercut to his lower abdomen. The attack sends Higuruma flying as Yuji is confused about why his opponent had allowed him to attack. Because Yuji possessed by Sukuna, whatever he had done during the Shibuya incident was clearly unrecoverable, meaning that Yuji is innocent. And Higuruma decides to cooperate with Yuji by using his 100 points while playing a new game. This is rule number 10. Players may transfer any number of points between one another. At the end of the fight, Higuruma transfers 1 point over to Yuji so that he isn't subject to curse technique from him into his game. Yuji offers Higuruma to team up, but he gladly declines, stating that he feels guilty. After he had killed he had murdered one judge and one prosecutor. Higuruma states that he wants to turn himself in once the barrier for the and until then, he just prevents the other. Also, Higuruma would only feel worse about himself if he stays around Yuji. While the fight between Yuji and Higuruma takes place across the three chapters, it still dives into some very interesting themes of law, morality, as well as justice and culture. This was again another incredible fight as we now turn our attention towards what is happening with Megumi within Tokyo number 1. So the last time that we had seen Megami, he was being lured by Remy into an ambush. Megami encounters the individual Reggie-Star, who along with his accomplices, Chizuru Hari, Iori Hazunoki, and lastly Remy, have all planned for this encounter in order to test Megami's strength and to see whether it is worthwhile to Megami's situation is pretty tense right now, and now in an area which is heavily populated. Sources and the players is definitely in danger. Reggie carefully observes Megami as he summons divine gods and avatars with a lot of advice and Jujutsu Kaisen. This is more than just a physical altercation. There is
feasting upon a dragon's essence, on the throbbing heart of the oldest, vilest dragon of them all. It would be the purest form of communion, the fullest sating of your hunger and your consummation as a dragon whole. Yes, as it should be now. Seek the jagged peak. There you will find Vale, the oldest and vilest of all dragons, land-bound warrior. Follow your devourers. I will grant you strength in the name of my lord, Placidusax. Warrior true. In a time long past, Bale turned upon the Dragon Lord. The foul traitor assailed our master and inflicted a grievous wound, only to make a hasty retreat, becoming a sworn enemy of the brood. Since that day, Bale and his bloodline, the Drakes, have served as sacrifices for Dragon Queen, land-bound warrior. My lord, Placidusax, has shown your kind what must be done. Seek communion, sate your boundless appetite, feel the euphoria of the dragon's essence taking root in your meager frame. In a time long past, the far becoming since land-bound, seek and feel the euphoria.